Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at ubnradio.com.
We haven't started the show, and Era's laughing at me, and I have no idea why. Welcome to Distill, a 360-degree view of life and sports, with Era laughing at me for no reason that I can tell.
Oh, I have so many reasons.
Do you?
I do.
Is my hat, I'm sure. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here this afternoon. We are coming to you live from beautiful downtown Hollywood on a somewhat rainy and cloudy day, which is so unusual for here in Los Angeles. We're very excited about it. We are at our second or third or fourth home, the UBN Radio Network. We're very excited to be here today, as we are every other week. I am here, as you heard, with my favorite co-host, partner in business, partner in crime.
I'm your only co-host.
That's right. But you're still my favorite
I better
one.
be your favorite.
Yeah, you're still my favorite one, no matter what.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Era Schwitzer, welcome.
Thank you.
We are very, as always, excited to be here today. And just a quick word about who we are. We are co-owners of the Distillery Inc., a business consulting firm that works with athletes to help them repurpose their athletic intelligence and move them into a career after sports. Yeah. And that's why we believe we can sit here and talk to you all about sports, because we are passionate about it, we love it, and we believe sports is a metaphor for life. And so everything we talk about here at Distill It has to do with more about what's going on in and around sports, from the amateur to the professional, from kids to adults. And we really enjoy bringing all of our thoughts and opinions to you, and then we have many, as you probably have heard. So welcome. We want to say hello first to our very special security blanket, the one, the only, Jarvis Essex, who is the most amazing engineer ever.
And today he's mic'd up, so he gets to join in. We like this.
Hello.
Oh, you're going to join him?
No, I got confused.
We love it when Jarvis joins in. He doesn't do it often enough. We'll have to prod him to do so. Just so you know, we are on Facebook Live as well as the UBN Radio Network on Channel 1. And if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. You can always give your comments on Facebook, or you can call in. And Jarvis, I need the number because I forgot my piece of paper. 323-284-7826, or you can Skype in on UBN guest 1. We would love to hear from you, and today's topic is one that has to do with kids. We're very excited about it. Before we get into the details, though,
yes, Wendy,
we do talk about our kids a lot. We always like to talk about what's going on in sports around the world, and usually we will look at something that's professional, but then we'll come back to our kids. So
how can we not? After Sunday's game, how can we not come back to our kids?
So we talk about sports being a metaphor for life, and our sons just started Little League for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was their second game, but we made an observation that we just wanted to share, and that is, when we say sports is a metaphor for life, we mean it. You can watch 5-year-olds play Little League, and you can literally see every characteristic personality type of people playing out on the field of a 5-year-old baseball game.
Oh, it was classic. I mean, we sat there, this kid hits the ball goes way out, and you watch the pitcher, who's this amazing little boy who's not going to let anything get past him.
Right.
Okay, and he's
control freak.
I was going to say he is so adamant about doing things right and making sure that they win, that it doesn't matter what else is happening, who else is on base. The kid's going to make sure he's the one grabbing the ball and running to get everyone out. Yeah. And we heard him scream at one point. Yeah. I can't throw it to him. He won't catch it.
He won't catch it. So I have to do everything.
But then the ball keeps going, and we watch it. We watch 3 kids. Now the group is getting bigger and bigger. The pack is getting bigger and bigger, chasing the ball, and the ball flies right past this little boy who's standing there with his hands on his hips, sort of looking out into the distance. Like the ball just went. The whole game, life just went right past him. There's no need to be bothered joining in the game.
The ball literally rolled within a foot of
Of
him, and there was
the
8
giant,
kids.
Exactly. The giant pack of kids is following the ball, and the little boy, nothing.
Didn't even turn around. Didn't even
Missed
look.
the entire action.
All over here. It was hysterical.
But we sat there, we looked at each other, we said, this is it. Sports is a metaphor for life. Like, you see the one who's just going to sort of stand by and let life go by, the one who's a complete control freak and has to make sure he is making sure everything's happening.
The Joker, the one that's
Joker.
like lying on the floor,
Exactly.
like spinning and twirling.
So much fun.
The kid
It was
that-
so funny.
It was hysterical. The poor kid who, crying because they didn't get their way. Like
Or
everything.
the one being forced to play because
Yeah.
he doesn't really want to be there, but, parents think it's a really important thing for him to go and do.
You ever want to understand your own life? Go watch 5-year-olds play baseball. Seriously, you'll understand it. You'll understand the dynamics of being in the office. It was like being in the office.
Right.
Okay, we don't
Yeah.
express it the same way,
Yeah.
but it was for sure.
Yeah.
I've worked on teams like this
Absolutely.
in my life.
Absolutely.
So, tip of the day. You want to work on some stuff? Go watch kids play sports.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
Yeah, I agree.
The other one I didn't talk to you about, but I had to throw out there because our mutual friend who used to play
Right.
for USC in basketball, what the heck? How did they not make it into the tournament?
Man.
Did you see David's post?
no, I
David
didn't.
Blue,
I
our
didn't.
friend who used to play for USC,
Yeah.
was very upset.
Was he?
Oh, well, I was
didn't see
very
what he
upset.
wrote. Yeah. Yeah.
And because, by the way, UCLA didn't have, I don't even think, much better of a record, maybe
Right.
1 game difference.
Right.
I think we need to be protesting the committee. I mean, it's just
It's not right.
It's just not right.
It's just not right.
just not right. For those of you who know, we both went to USC, so it was a very, very difficult thing to see.
Yeah.
And as always, we want to just say a little bit about my hat today before we move on. But as always, my hat is connected to our guest in some way, whether it's a long stretch of a connection or not. And today's hat, if everybody will notice, is, I don't know if you can see it, it's Mickey Mouse.
I see Mickey's ears, golden ears.
Golden Ears, Disney sports, so connected to sports. Mickey Mouse is connected to kids. And what I didn't know is our guest is wearing the same color as the Mickey Mouse on my hat. So it worked out very nicely. Thank you for channeling that. Yeah, so kids in sports. And when you're going to talk about kids, you got to wear a Mickey Mouse hat.
I'm not wearing a Mickey Mouse hat.
You don't ever
And
wear
I'm
a hat.
talking about
that's not
kids.
true. You do wear a hat.
I do wear hats. Often.
I have to wear the hat
Yeah,
that connects to
I hear you.
kids. So yes, it's a long stretch, but that is
It
what
works.
it is today.
It's a good stretch.
Thank you. So let's jump straight in. Thank you all of you who are watching. We really appreciate you being here. Today we wanted to talk about kids in sports, and it was very much by chance that we met our guest. In fact,
Yeah.
it wasn't that long ago, and I will actually leave it to Ara to share what happened, because it was really like all of a sudden I looked up and she's talking to this incredibly tall, very strapping gentleman. I was like, what is going on over there?
So we're at our kids' baseball practice, and I'm doing my usual workout. I take my kids. Usually that's what I do. I take my
By
kids
the way,
to.
she literally works out while the rest of us are standing around going, hey, you guys, do what their coach is telling you to do.
I drop off my kid, and I expect the coach to take care of the kid. I don't want to be involved, but I'm going to take advantage of the time that I have to myself, even if it's 30 minutes, to exercise.
She's an inspiration.
So David's sitting there playing. Heloise is off, has made friends, and she's playing soccer. So I'm doing my laps around there, and I'm getting my workout, and I'm watching Coach Carlos with this little boy going through some really amazing technique. Really working on some incredible motor skills here. And so I let him do his thing for a bit. When I saw he had a break, I said, so are you a private coach? And he launches into, well, yes, I am. And then he sort of started to explain a bit about, who he is, what he does. But, would much rather have him give us a brief history about who you are and what you do and how you ended up here. But I was so blown away because really what he said to me was, when I came to this country, I quickly realized how poorly kids move. They have no real sense of their bodies and how to do things properly.
Can I add not just kids?
Yeah. Oh, adults for sure.
Yeah.
He was
this is
focusing
for all
on
of
kids,
all
but
of
this
our-
is for all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
how many of us really understand proper body mechanics? And so I said, that's it. We would love to have you on the show. Can you come on? And he was so gracious and said, absolutely. So here he is. Without further ado, Coach Carlos.
Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos. I told him he could laugh at me if I mispronounced his name. But we're just going to call you Coach Carlos of Fundamentals for the rest of the show. How's
Body
that?
mechanic to the
body
kids,
mechanic.
which we love. But tell us a bit about you and your career and how you ended up here.
Yeah, actually, the me ended up being here. It's literally Ira running into me, because she was actually running. Yeah.
Yeah, embarrassing all of us other parents who were standing on the sideline just chit-chatting and
Yeah, and
telling our kids what to do.
Yeah, and that was it was funny because in the email that we exchanged before I come to the show, I said that somehow you would end up crossing our path because I was thinking about going to the coaches, your kids' coaches,
Sure.
and like volunteering myself to working them out a little bit, like because of course I don't understand anything about baseball just yet, because I'm really into sports and eventually I'm gonna learn.
Yeah.
And but of course I could get them ready to get going, like with some warm up that I could definitely have them doing before the practice. So and this work that I've been doing is just like to have kids understanding like more of their body. So to have like more body awareness, not only for sports but for daily tasks.
Sure.
So like for example, they are walking down the beach and somehow some hazard just pops up and they like slip, or to avoid a fall and stuff. The fact of their bodies being able to adapt to a little faster to the situation is already my goal. Of course, if some of them eventually become a college athlete or a professional athlete, that's great. I would be very happy for it. But my goal is already, achieved.
And that's what I love about the work that you do, because really it's whether or not you want your child to pursue a whole life or career in sports is irrelevant. The truth is all of us get up and move every day. So something as simple as that, really, most of us slip and fall, certainly as we get older, and a very simple fall can become horrendous. I mean, really painful.
If you get past a certain age, and it could be the thing that, is your demise. I hate to say it.
Absolutely. But the more we train our bodies to be able to respond to outside stressors like that, the better equipped we are, I think, to be able to handle, the change that we go through as we get older.
I'm going to point this out. It's obvious, but you have an accent. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and why you have this perspective, as Era was saying, that here in the United States, we don't really look at body mechanics in the same way that you might say in Brazil or other parts of the world where, again, soccer is a predominant sport, not American football and baseball.
Yeah. So I'm from Brazil, and soccer has been in my life, in my family's life, even before I was born. And, like my dad and my mom, and like all my uncles and my grandparents, they were all like passionate about the game. So there wouldn't be any other place where I would take my first steps other than a soccer field, which is actually one of the pictures that I sent, just to talk a little bit about where I come from. So I grew up pretty much like running around fields and stuff, and like getting a little bit older, and I started to play competitively since I was very young, and then turning in 17. And which happens a lot in Brazil, like we sign professional contracts, like making like money.
Right, right. We know what those contracts are like, so we understand the air quotes very well.
So, then
it's either a little or you're not supposed to be making it, right?
Right, just to say that something is coming in, which is just like, anyway, it's not necessary because of course it was my experience, and I am grateful for having it to be going to that direction of my life. But besides soccer, I got to do so many different stuff. But one of them was like that I went to college also for physical education. Didn't get to graduate because I was going back and forth, to Europe, where I spent like quite a while. I played in Poland for almost 4 years.
Professionally.
Yeah, professionally. And in Brazil too, where I got to like see a lot of the country, and for that I'm grateful to soccer, whether I became like the famous player or not. Which if it wasn't for soccer, I would not have this vision of working with kids the way I am now.
Sure.
So what's the difference? I'm the novice here. Era for sure, hands down, kicks my butt when it comes to understanding and listening to her body, and I'm always asking her questions, even in my own, way that I work out. What's this? How's that? What's the difference? Why do you have the perspective that our kids here are not getting trained in a way that is, I don't want to say it negatively, not that it's bad what our coaches are doing.
But there's a greater
there's
emphasis put on body mechanics.
What's
in certain
the
other parts of
difference?
the world.
Yeah, what I would say is not even about US itself. You know, it's nowadays I believe that kids are not having as much access to like physical activities as,
Sure.
for example, I had growing up. So, for example, if you go to Brazil, you're gonna see a lot less kids, you know, like playing around on the kids and playing on the streets and playgrounds and stuff, as well as here. And as the access to like a lot more like electronic devices,
Yeah.
you know, in US, like much easier, you know, here it's gonna be easier for you to find kids that will be like sedentary and won't know how to hold their bodies up, you
Right.
know. So I mean, it's gonna be easier for you to notice that. On top of that, I am very detalist. So even when I was playing, I would always try to, you know, to work things out and like things that I would see as my weak point. I would always try to work it out, you know, to get better at it, you know, kind of a perfectionist point of view. And right now I got married also to a physical therapist, which is also, you know, like very detalist. And as soon as she sees someone, like, oh, she's gonna just like call me on it, like, oh, see how that person is running, see
Sure.
how that kid is moving and stuff. And we always like keep talking back and forth about why they're running that way, you know, where did it come from, because she's specialized on spinal cord injury, and she will like identify a stroke, you know, like miles away. So pretty-
for those of us again who might be novice at all of this, when you talk about body mechanics, can you explain to me what that means? Like, what am I looking for? If I just go out and I'm watching my son play baseball as I am right now, like I don't know how to spot, is he doing something the right way? Is he not? Is he using his body most efficiently? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is that the human body is supposed to move. You know, that's the very beginning of the whole thing. So everything
In
that
all directions.
Yeah, in all directions.
Right.
You know, like of course each joint has its own role, right? In making your body move, right? But you're gonna identify. For this is pretty easy, and it happens a lot. I actually see a lot like kids that will arch their back. You know, it's pretty easy to identify that their lower back, you know, is not is not holding their body properly up.
Yeah.
You know, and it comes and if you think about it, it's not that the kid got weak. You know, and when he was, for example, like crawling, the parents wouldn't let them move
Right.
by themselves. They just throw them on the ground and let them figure it out. You know what I mean?
So you can see these things even in a 5-year-old or a
Yeah,
4-year-old. You can
yeah.
see some of the issues that are arising even from the fact that, like you're saying, they didn't get enough motion when they were
Yeah.
even crawling.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because I mean, I've what brought me to US was the like friends, of course, that were working for this company that has soccer camps all over the country, and I got to live in like with host families and stuff with like 2 kids, 3 kids, 4, whatever. And their house they would have like many of them would have like a huge living room with like a very nice and soft carpet and stuff, and the kids would be in the stroller.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that is not a way for like a crawling baby to get hurt, like
Yeah.
you know, from a carpet where they would be just like working out, you know, by himself.
Right. So
You
talking
know.
about soccer specifically, for so many of us who are parents and our kids are young and we're watching them, we're so mindful of them not getting hurt. So many parts of the world, you give your child a soccer ball. Like, they're tiny, and they learn to kick and they learn ball control before they even learn to really walk.
Yeah.
Right. And
exactly.
here it's don't give them the ball. Make sure the balls are out of the way. We don't want them to trip and fall.
Yeah.
But
I
to the
mean,
contrary, right? So what you're saying is really they have to learn sort of these very basic motor skills much earlier than we allow them to.
Yeah, I'm not a dad yet. You know, eventually it's gonna happen. But I've been working with kids like long enough to know to learn that they will figure out a way to defend themselves from like falling,
Sure.
from like some unexpected situation.
Yeah.
So, but if you have to let them, So it's pretty like I'm working in this amazing place like called Apex and like in Santa Monica, and I'm also working in partnership with an occupational therapist called Marielle. She's like giving me great advices, and I'm learning a lot from them. And I see in these places like parents who they would be overprotecting their kids. You know, I mean, you gotta let them fall like once or twice for them to understand, oh, this is what I have to do not to fall.
Sure.
You know, and these their understanding will tell them what part of their bodies they would rely on to avoid that. So that's what I believe and what I'm basing my program on.
Sure.
So to continue on with that, can you tell us what you base when you say you base your program on that? You're not like taking kids out and like pushing them over and going, "Hey, fall," so that you can figure it out.
No.
What did ARA see out there? I mean, maybe you can talk about it as well. That you said it was so exceptional that you hadn't seen before.
Yeah, talk to us about some of the drills that you did with the kids.
Yeah, so that was one kid that I work with in Beverly Hills every Monday, and I mean, like I love to work soccer with kids because that's my dominant knowledge. So, but there's no point of me to put a ball in front of a kid and tell him, oh, shoot a ball in the goal, put the ball there,
Sure.
there. If his body cannot project itself, towards the ball and to hold himself, because of course, like to hit a soccer ball, you need one foot on the ground as a base, right? If you cannot hold your body in one foot, how come you're gonna shoot a ball well enough, to place in the right spot?
Right.
So, what I was working with these kids and what I've been working with the kids that I'm working now is like the very fundamentals, the very basis to get their body to not only for sport. Again, it's not my goal to have like a soccer player into college and all of that, right? But I want their bodies to be able to hold themselves and then the understanding what muscles to use they will have to rely on, not to do to fall when hitting a soccer ball or swinging a bat, for example. For them to swing a bat, I know that it's a lot of core strength that they have to protect. The hip is a big part of it. Right, from what I know, and if you're swinging a bat without any core strength, you're gonna just be spinning around.
Sure.
Well, you might make contact, but the power of the contact you make with the ball is going to be lessened by the fact that you don't have the core strength in order to follow it through.
Right.
You still may hit. I guess the point is, and what I'm finding very fascinating is that, that what I'm hearing you say is having the right body mechanics, understanding what your body is doing from a very early age, allows you to go from one level of sports to possibly the next, because again, you're getting more power in what you're doing, because you have more balance, or you have more stability in your core, or you have
it's not even about the power, it's like more control on what you're doing.
Control.
Right? It's more control, because as strong as your muscles get, more control you have on your movement, whatever it is. Like driving a car, for example, if you don't have like a good control on your triceps, you may like make a movement to with your shoulder that your triceps cannot hold your arm straight.
Yeah.
So it is this kind of stuff that I like to work, and I mean, what I try to do as much as possible is to keep it like with a lot of structure, which is it requires a lot of patience, because of course kids are always kids and they don't want to take off this part of them.
Did you happen to see our kids twirling around in circles yesterday at their? I don't know. I thought I saw you there yesterday.
Well,
but I was did you see them? They were like spinning in circles.
I might have seen a kid picking grass, and I believe that was yours.
I can promise you that one wasn't mine, but mine definitely was the one spinning in circles for reasons I could not explain.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it requires a lot of patience for to work with kids, especially on what I'm trying to provide. What I want to do is to have not to have at all just like a bunch of kids running around, for the parents to have like a time off. Of course, I want to if the parent want to have a time off, that's great, but I want them working out. So it is pretty funny, because one of the parents of the kids who come to my camps and stuff, they call like a kids boot camp.
Right.
Is it?
Which is actually what it is.
It's kids boot camp, but I think also what you do so brilliantly is break down the function of the body, each part of the body, and how that correlates to breaking down the sport of his or her choice. I mean, I have a neighbor whose son really wants to box. That's his passion. And so I'll catch them, every once in a while out there just running around, and he's punching in the air and he's doing his thing, and Dad's out there with the mitts and they're punching, and there's no discussion. And no matter how many times I try and approach Dad about this, there's just no desire. And I tell him all the time, it's not just the upper body punching and punching. You
Right.
have got to work on proper stance and the hip movement.
Yeah.
I've been boxing for now 12 years, and my trainer drills in me. It's all of my control and strength comes from the hip movement. I could work out my upper body to death. I could hit the bags all I want. But if I'm not doing that in conjunction with the rest of my body, I'm selling myself short.
Exactly. If I can see that because again, I'm addicted to sports, and I'm gonna always try to learn a different one. And my friends actually laugh at me because I'm always like running at the basketball course, and I do drills by myself, and like dribbling the ball, trying to do a layup, like getting better and
Sure.
stuff. And they're always laughing at me because I go to Venice Beach and I mess around the other guys' games.
Right.
Because I'm not as good at it yet. But anyway.
But you're getting there.
Yeah, I'll get there. I have no rush, you
Yeah.
know, so.
I just think that I have to say this before I forget. You should do like a parent and me class for those of us who
Yes.
probably need it as bad as our kids to find that core strength and to find it through the sport activity, is something that I'm sure parents would love to do with their kids. Just instead of standing on site. I can take, like, again, Amber as the example, who uses the time that we're there to work out. Can you imagine doing that with your kid, at the same time? How fun that would be. So you were telling us that you're using soccer, or I'll say it in the way that I learned it when I lived in London for 10 years, football. Sorry.
There
for
you
all
go.
of us.
You learned from the right place.
I did, I know.
Exactly.
I almost had to like switch back when I moved back to saying football as American football and not
Right.
American football, because that's what I had to say when I was there. But you use football, soccer as your basis for working, helping kids work through body mechanics. I'm assuming that is going to support them in whatever type of sport they choose to do. Or like you were saying, you were playing basketball. Do you run a different routine in order to help yourself gain, athleticism in basketball versus soccer?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the exercises that you do in both sports are pretty similar. Like actually, if you can pretty much generalize like a part of it. Of course, when it comes to specifics, there is no like a way to compare, because in soccer where you are using your feet, and basketball hands, and it's different. But like a lot of hand-eye coordination, a lot of like footwork, and the running part of it, you gotta be always looking for a performance. Of course, it's a different type of athleticism. So basketball is more intense, whereas in soccer you have some breaks depending on the soccer that you're playing. For example, like a futsal is a different game, is a field soccer is a different one. Indoor soccer is another like a variant of the game of soccer. But when it comes to like the general of it, that's when you can kind of put like a drill that is similar to any sport. Of course, I'm gonna focus on soccer because I like to know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I don't want to like have a kid, for example, that played basketball for many years, like 10-year-old, that know way more about basketball, like giving me like a lecture about what I should be doing. But of course,
Really? Wait till you have kids.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I mean, like, it's not that it's just like me in a like leading a class, and I don't want to be like just buying parents with like, not a good, like just talking.
Sure. Sure. But I do want to stress also that, really understanding body mechanics isn't just about excelling in sports. I mean, you touched on this earlier when you were saying how across the board we've become much more tech savvy, and at the same time we've become much more sedentary.
Yeah.
And we see that obviously so much with our kids. Our kids fortunately love sports and are rooted in sports and are very physically active, but they also do love their electronics, and
Yes,
they get plenty of time doing that.
Yeah.
So back to your earlier point about just, the shifts that we do see in our bodies with our, backs hunched over and not really walking upright and not really strengthening, whatever that needs to be strengthened to make sure that we're walking with proper posture and that our bodies are aligned just right. It's body mechanics affects every area of your life, whether or not you play or compete in sports.
Yeah, it
Right.
does. And actually, it was like a big fight with my sister, which is like following us
Yeah.
right now from
What's her
Brazil.
name?
Gloria.
Oh,
Claudia,
nice. Well,
hi,
yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, my sister, my mom, and my dad was always active as well. And like
Yeah.
a little getting older, he kind of quit a little bit of sports.
Sure.
But I always like told them to be moving, to be active and stuff. And right now she kind of maybe I think that she got to a point to like to get off her sedentary life.
Sure. It's important.
Yeah,
It
was
catches up
huge.
with you.
Yeah, and she what she does is has nothing to do with sports. Like she's a marketing specialist.
Yeah.
And she's like sitting all the time, as well as her husband.
Sure.
He works on sales and stuff. And I mean, they still need their bodies to move properly, even not having to deal with sports as they're like on their daily basis.
Yeah. If you get up and move every day, you want for your body to function well.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Well, so to that point, as a parent and a person who probably has to sit more than I'd like just because of my job and what we do, and first of all, are there things that we can be looking at when we're watching our kids, right, that are very obvious, like, kind of red flags, like you were saying, maybe slouching or other key indicators that can tell us, hey, our kid isn't using their bodies properly, or we should be addressing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that easy, for example, for someone who don't have. I'm not saying that not everyone should be studying like physical education or have like a sports background and stuff, but it's pretty delicate for you to tell like, oh, that kid is doing this and that, and to tell them what to do, because I mean, if you don't really have the knowledge about what you should correct, it's pretty. You can mess it even more.
Well, I trust me, I'm not suggesting any of us correct our kids, but just if you see something that you could, find a coach like yourself, or even talk to, a coach, a high school coach, a school coach, to say, hey, I've noticed. Like, are there things that you can see just by watching your kid play that maybe they could be working on?
Oh yeah, this is like, for example, the way that they step. This is very common stuff that in soccer happens a lot here, because that's one thing that I try to talk to the parents about. I understand that kids grow up fast, but like a lot of times the parents, they want to buy like a bigger shoe to last longer and stuff.
Yeah.
But for the kid and for the game, for the development of the skill of the game, is not gonna be beneficial, because their first fight will be to try to keep their feet inside the shoes.
Yeah.
And that throws everything off.
Yeah, so they cannot run on their toes, which is like is necessary for them to move in soccer. They need to move a lot on their toes, so their
by the
calves.
way, any game,
any
sport.
Exactly, and then you cannot be fighting, to keep your shoes, inside the cleat,
Right.
so having like a big, huge one, and then it can mess like the steps. So you're gonna see easily like a kid stepping a little bit outside or a little bit inside, and it can cause a lot of damage for like ankle joints, knee joints, hip joints, and this is very, very easy to identify. So
I think those are all such great points, because certainly as a parent, we're always so mindful of the expenses involved in having our kids participate in sports. And what most of us do is buy maybe, uniforms that are a little too big, shoes that are a little too big. So you want to give them time to grow into these things. They can have these around for a couple of seasons. But much to your point, if the shoes are too big, that's affecting their level of play and possibly setting them up for injury.
By the way, I will go further than that in saying, when I've gone to buy David's shoes, they tell me
to go
the
bigger.
expert to go bigger. Yeah. So interesting.
I was going to say earlier that, talking about just how tech savvy we are, we do have so many resources available to us. And I was just going to say, if you're looking to put your kid into any sport, it's so important to make sure that you are setting them up with coaches that know what they're doing, who can talk to them about, some of these things. But we do have so many resources online. It's so important to be able to stop and look at the sport that you're now putting your child into and learning how to break it down. So, for example, I can remember I spent so many years playing soccer, and like you were talking about earlier, you spend so much time running on your toes. I also, ran track and field, and so again, you're on your toes a whole lot. I did competitive dancing for many years, so I learned to sort of turn my feet out. And when I started to do triathlons and moved into cycling, I had to have a trainer who really worked with me to help me transition from sort of that turned out foot positioning, staying on my toes, to really turning my knees inward, because that's proper body positioning on the bike. So it's taken the time to really research what it is that sport requires of you. You know, proper body positioning. And again, nowadays we have so many tools available online, so many even simple videos on YouTube that can break down some of these things for you.
Yeah, but as a parent who doesn't know, like, unfortunately, this is why I'm totally fascinated by what Coach Carlos does and how he might even supplement kind of another sport besides soccer.
Sure.
Right now, look, we have 5-year-olds. Our coaches are really wonderful.
They're parent volunteers.
That
exactly.
they know
Not always
nothing.
trained. They're
And
not
that's something
trained.
that particularly, I find it great, about in US, because in Brazil, honestly, it's a lack of interest of parents.
Right.
So I honestly would like to see more. As for example, me growing up, my parents would be all the time on the sidelines, like cheering and supporting. My friends still make fun of me by the way that my mom would
Sure.
scream, on the sideline.
Yeah.
And you don't see that nowadays. So the parents, they just want like their kids out, and here, for example, I don't blame at all, like a coach, for example, a USO coach, which is like a
Right.
great organization, like that, because the kids there, they don't know, and there's not really a need for them to know if they want to carry on being athlete.
Right. Right.
There's no need for it. They are healthy. They are having like a great time out, like doing something that's going to be very beneficial for their lives. Right, and the parent who is volunteering there doesn't have the obligation to know everything about sports as well, because he's not getting paid.
Right.
First of all,
Right.
He is like just like giving his time to
Sure.
be out with of course his child at first.
Yeah.
Which is like awesome, and I mean, he doesn't have to be like thinking about correcting stuff, but of course, if that's me particularly. If I don't understand about a game of baseball, at least I'm gonna research a lot before
Sure.
getting
Right.
into.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Do your research.
Yeah.
So we have a question for you.
Yep.
Does your training help kids stay more grounded in their bodies while they're playing? So by focusing on body mechanics, does that help mentally?
Yeah, it does. It does, because I mean, like, as I was telling you guys a little bit before the show. So what I believe and the way I learned, discipline is part of what I lived.
Sure.
So, for example, you are not gonna. I don't want the kid to come to my class. I'm not gonna let a kid come to my class and just like be running around and stuff. That's why I try to keep it a small number, so I can pay attention in everything that's going on, and try to miss as less as possible of these details. So, what I try to do is to keep them focused, which is not like the easiest part of
Right,
it, and
yeah.
you can tell me.
For all of those parents
Exactly.
listening, is it easy
You
for
know?
you? Comment below.
Yeah, and as I was telling again, I can talk about that. So a lot of kids that come for a while, that have been coming for a while already with me,
Yeah.
the parents already know like my voice, the tone of my voice, because of course I'm like a 6'5" guy. It's kind of scary at first, and
Sure.
I talk loud,
Yeah.
because I believe that kids also love rules when
Yeah.
you know how to put the rules for them to.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love rules.
Era loves giving others rules as well, which we are grateful for on many occasions.
No, but it's so important. I think all of that does help a child feel more grounded, because
Yeah.
when you are better informed, when you understand why it is that you're doing what you're being asked to do, you're invested.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I want to pick up, I always do this, man. I'm always got that right there. I want to pick up on that point that you're saying. I agree. I think when a kid understands more why they're doing what they're doing, it really helps them. And I can't help but thinking that in what you're doing, and just the thought of that all parents, all of us should have for ourselves, right, is it's one thing to hear stand up straight. I can tell you, I have a friend who is a yoga teacher, and whenever he saw me, he would come up and he would pull my shoulders back and go stand up straight, and it would drive me crazy because clearly I'm not even thinking what I'm doing. Like my body, from years of not or whatever it is, or not having the core muscle strength, doesn't as well.
You're a sloucher.
I'm a sloucher. I admit it wholeheartedly, and I've worked hard on not being, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're even telling a kid or an adult, not just stand up straight, but, you know, do this, whatever it is that you're showing them, in a way, why you're doing it, how it's going to affect their play, and how it's going to affect them moving forward. I think that level of discipline kids get because they want to succeed.
Right.
Like a lot of the kids that are out there, they really, you know, a lot of them do it for fun, but I've watched even the 5-year-olds are super competitive.
Yeah.
So I think that aside from the work that you do with the kids, the other aspect of your business now has to be hitting up all the leagues and training the parent volunteers on how they're going to coach. Because if they understand how to break down technique, if they understand how to break down body mechanics, certainly not as experienced as you are, but if they have a better sense of what they're teaching kids and teach them how to teach them, you know, I think we're going to be so much better off. Because again, at the end of the day, these are parent volunteers who are coaching for the most part, and they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong.
That's
it's
not wrong.
It's not wrong.
That's like and what is great also about, you know, the organization that sports like have here, you know, especially for the kids, is that they always give like the parent volunteer coaches, they give them a training, you know, which of course would be like very nice if they could include a little bit more of like information about the body moving itself without the sport that they're gonna coach.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I mean. Like in general, I think everything that you're talking about makes so much sense, and I have to say that it does. Many of it applies across whatever sport you're playing. Like the tip about, you know, not getting your kids shoes that are too big works if you're playing baseball, or works if you're playing football, or if you're playing, you know, soccer or whatever you're doing, because until you said it, I didn't even think about it. It's like, you're right. You may not even be aware. The kid may not be aware that their foot is fighting to stay in the shoe.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's throwing so many things off, you know?
And it's like some details that, I mean, like, of course I played it. I know how bad it is. I know how my foot would be, you know, how I would feel to run if I didn't have like the proper size, the proper you know, material and stuff. Of course, you get picky at a certain point, and kids, I believe that they give you guys a hard time. Like, I want that color, I want that brand, whatever, you know. But I mean, if for first for the body development, and second for the sports skills itself, you know, I strongly believe that the proper attire will be like is crucial, you know, for the development.
Yeah.
So, and that is a detail that can be harmful later on, you know.
So a lot of us parents, in between the days that our kids are playing sports, they're at practice, like to work with our kids at home. You know, get the ball out and kick it around in the backyard or in a park, or toss the baseball. Do you have any tips for those of us who, I mean, again, not trying to say that we should be, you know, a physiotherapist, but any tips that you have for parents when they're playing with their kids, to skills that they can highlight, or drills that they might do that are easy for us to learn?
To be honest, I just my personal tip would be like, keep doing it, because they don't want to hear the whole week what they have to do. They want to have fun, so they have fun with you guys, and they listen to what they need to do on the specific sport that they are playing with their coaches.
Okay.
So
I like that. Have fun with the parents, let the coaches
I love that. No, it's a great tip.
Yeah, because I mean, like, a lot of parents, you know, like it's pretty hard to deal, you know, like we were talking about it before. I mean, it's hard to deal with the parents who want to coach their kids on the sidelines, when they were supposed to be enjoying their free time with their kids, you know, doing free stuff. Yeah. You know, so enjoy your time with your kid and let us do what you're supposed to do. This way we won't be like exchanging roles, you know, because as you as parents might have experienced, I don't know, you're gonna see a lot of kids, where the parents in Brazil it happens a lot. Parents want their kids to be educated by their school.
Right.
Where when their school was supposed to be like giving them culture.
Yeah.
So like let the job for those who the jobs belong to.
Yeah. Right.
So-
Everyone has a role.
Yeah.
There's a few parents that if you'd like to come to our kids' game, that I could have you go talk to.
Maybe he could run a clinic for the parents while
Yeah.
the kids are playing, so the kids can just play
Can just
and do what
play.
the coaches
Exactly.
are asking them to do.
Instead of all
I like that.
and I'd be embarrassed to say there's been a couple of times where I
Yeah.
might have acted that way.
You
But
get
you know,
Imagine this, like for example, for a kid, like a 4 or 5, whatever, however age, if you have a practice that you are supposed to be focused at, right? And your dad, your mom will take you to a park
Yeah.
to give you more practice, and like
Exactly.
you have to do this, you have to do this.
It's no fun.
one. Yeah, there's no fun. The joy of the game will be lost.
Absolutely. And that has to be
You
that has
know.
to be first and foremost. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
'Cause if you're
that's
having
like-
fun, then you're going to continue to put in the effort, and do the work to learn the skills, and all that will come
Yeah,
with time. But you got to be having
exactly.
fun.
But that does contradict a little bit of what you're saying, because at a certain point, there's going to be the kid that wants to do this seriously and wants to, let's say, maybe not a pro career, but certainly wants to take their sport into their higher education,
Right.
high school and college, maybe beyond.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you can't just be like, okay, let's just go out in the park and not
Yeah, and then
focus.
For that, I can tell you that I can be an example about that, because, for example, as much as I would love to play soccer,
Yeah.
I would at a point of my career, I would just go back home. I was like, no, I need to. But then he will figure it out as like by himself, without no one else telling them that they should get better at it.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of giving them the time, because they will understand. For example, like not telling them that, oh, you have to dribble the ball, do a crossover in a basketball. They have to
Sure.
work. They will figure out that they need to get better at doing a crossover,
Right.
because at the practice he's not keeping up with the other players. So when you are playing around with your kid, for example, he will start to do a crossover because he figured out that I need to get better at
Yeah.
it. Not because like there's.
So it'll be self-motivated, is
Yeah,
what you're
it's
saying.
yeah.
It'll
basically.
come internally.
And when the talent's clear, you obviously start to handle those kids a little bit differently, but
Yeah.
you don't have to drill them at 5.
Really?
Odds are they haven't yet, unless you're like, Messi, who was clearly
You know how often I often I
phenomenal
forget
at
that our
age.
kids are 5, and I'm like, oh. I'm not that bad, right?
No.
You'd tell me if I were that bad,
I
right?
would tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would actually.
tell
I
you.
count on her for these things. I actually tell her to tell me these things because I don't want to go there. And for those of us adults who might be concerned about, how we're sitting up straight or how body mechanics for us, I'm assuming there's still time, even
Oh,
though
yeah.
I might not be.
There's
as young
hope
as
for
5.
you.
There's still hope
There's
for me,
hope.
right?
yeah. I mean, I was actually just reading a book about it, which I sent to my sister. You built, like a way, during your whole life to live in a certain way. For you to change that habit is pretty hard, So it's like you gotta put together like some couple minutes at a time,
Sure,
and think
practice
about
new
that.
behavior.
And eventually you're gonna just like not think about it, just do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I would think that for all of us who are getting older, being aware of your body and your body mechanics and what you are doing and what you're not doing is really going to save you from a lot of, difficulties, as you get even older, that your body is going to change regardless, and that the
Right.
more you think about it early on, the better off you're going to be at the end of the day.
oh yeah, exactly.
So for those who want to find you, how do they do so?
Well, so far, just the Instagram page at Coach Carlos 25.
Great. And Travis is putting it up on the screen.
So you can private message you if people are interested in having you work with their kids.
Totally, yeah.
Or you can come to Beverly Vista School at Monday at
You can
5 o'clock, and then you'll probably see Carlos there.
Yeah. And also there's my email, coachcarlos25@gmail.com. So
That's
yeah,
great.
please feel free to contact me. That would be a pleasure to
I
have
do
your
have to
children.
say, because Gwen and I work so much with athletes, and we spend so much time working on really helping them figure out what's next and finding joy in whatever that career looks like, a second career, sometimes a third career. So I just want to say what a joy it was to be able to see you on the field that day we met, working with your student, and because it's I know how passionate, just based on the limited conversations we've had, how passionate you were about soccer and your professional career. But I see you having just as much fun, probably not more.
As a matter
now.
of fact, at that day specifically, I was pretty, concerned about what would be like, what would be the next steps about what I'm doing, like where it can take me, and then you came to talk to me. I mean, like, my family is like it's pretty. We have like a faith,
Yeah.
pretty. And then that day was like kind of pretty low, and thinking about should I, change or do something else and stuff. Or now today I think that you should believe and keep going, like on
I
what
love
you.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
Parent-
Absolutely. you
Parent
should.
and me classes.
We have so
We have
many
lots of ideas.
we have so many ideas for you.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
conversation is not over, to say
Yeah.
the least.
Yeah,
Carlos,
thank
we want to
you.
thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it, and it was so informative. And we want to thank everybody who tuned in today. We hope that you found.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you forgot our clapping at the beginning of the show, Jarvis.
Extra
No
clap
wonder
now.
I
We
felt-
get extra clap now.
No wonder I felt so out of sorts. I was like, what was missing? There was something. We heard the music, and then there was
she
nothing.
didn't get the validation
You know
early
me.
on.
I
And yet,
like my
and yet
claps.
somehow you powered through.
I
It's so
did.
amazing. You were able to validate yourself. That's beautiful.
I'm learning, Ira. I'm learning. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We are here in 2 weeks on March 27th with. I'm so excited. We're gonna make a little bit of announcement, not today, but on our Facebook page. Go ahead.
Just like to say thank you guys also for having me here, and I know that you guys have kids, and I would like to.
Oh,
I love
thank you
it.
guys if you
Yes.
shirt.
We got swag.
Swag. We love swag. That's
We'll take
awesome.
it. We'll take it.
Awesome. So cool.
Thank you.
That's
Just
amazing.
full disclosure, we did
Sweet.
not invite
Yeah.
Coach
We
Carlos
did
on for a
not.
T-shirt, but we're very grateful for it.
So sweet. Very cool, because we're so happy.
I know.
I love
we
it.
are going to make an announcement because we're starting a new feature about the business of sport
Yeah.
with a new contributor who we will be talking about over the next couple of weeks. But join us on March 27th if you want to talk about the idea of the NC2A paying players. It
Yeah.
is a big topic. I can't tell you how excited I am because I have so many opinions about it. You have
Yeah.
no idea. So look forward to that on March 27th. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on Facebook.com, The Distillery Inc., www.thedistilleryinc.com.
We're everywhere.
We're on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on iTunes if you want to hear our shows. We love to hear from you. We love feedback. So anytime you want to get in touch with us, you can just private message us on any of our social media. Thank you again, Jarvis, for your excellent work, and we really look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.